the N.F.A, National Firearms Act. More like the Not Anymore Firearms Act now. Hey guys, special announcement on the big news. Hopefully not just potential, but actual big news that's going to stick on the ruling in the N.F.A. With that, welcome to Gunfighter Life. First and foremost, I'm a Christian, military, law enforcement, private security, contracting background. Bio bullet points in the show notes. Let's get into it. The N.F.A. been around a long time. 1934 says Wikipedia. Thought it was the 20s or 30s, something to do with prohibition. And people are scared and the government swoops in and some rights go away. It's been around a long time. Almost 100 years, right? For all intents and purposes, almost a century. Meaning just about everybody alive today was born into that infringement of the N.F.A. Now, not all the N.F.A. stuff is going away, full auto, machine guns, but many of the categories, it seems, may no longer be categories. Things that honestly didn't make a lot of sense to begin with, in my opinion, like short-barreled rifles and short-barreled shotguns. Like I can have a shotgun that has an 18-inch barrel, but if it's 17, it's a felony. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Yeah, sure, it's concealable, but not nearly as concealable as a handgun. You get the idea. I can have a 14.5 pinned and welded M4, but if I don't pin and weld the flash hider, then it's a felony. Again, kind of strange. And, of course, suppressors, which are legal in many countries. Many countries that have more draconian firearms laws than we do. Now, it seems there was a ruling, and I'm not a lawyer, I don't pretend to be one, and a bunch of states were on it, and GOA, Gun Owners of America, whom I'm not affiliated with because they're not a sponsor of the show or anything, but I am really happy that they did this. You might want to look into them. I mean, I'm a N.R.A. member, but I've heard the GOA quite a bit lately, and it seems like they might be doing more than the N.R.A. And again, I'm not sponsored by any of those. I'm an N.R.A. instructor. I have been for a long, long time, but to be honest, it seems like the GOA has been doing quite a bit. But there was a lawsuit. You guys probably know that the tax stamp went away a few months ago, and the argument was, how can you continue to regulate these items? Your entire thing for regulating them in the first place was that there was a tax on them, so you tax them. If there's no tax, how do you have the right to regulate them? Well, they won that lawsuit, and apparently the Department of Justice decided not to continue to fight that, which should mean that those categories are going away. What does that mean? Hopefully, it means that now you can have an 18-inch barrel shotgun, and if you have a 17-inch barrel, you're not a felon. Hopefully, it means that AR pistol that's got the pistol brace on the back that everybody knows is not a brace, now you can just put a regular stock on it. You don't have to do the pistol brace thing. Hopefully, it means you can just go get a suppressor at the store, like most other countries that have firearms where you can get suppressors. Now, I'm not a lawyer, but here's where it gets tricky. A lot of those are still going to be banned, and honestly, a lot of the states you probably need them most, like California and New York and, the most draconian places, are probably still going to be illegal there. What that means for interstate commerce and stuff, I don't know. I'd be careful with that. If you live in free America, many of the states that were listed on there, and I'm not going to go through them all, but my state is one, you should be able, hopefully, to go get these like you should have been able to all along. Now, again, I don't know what that means for interstate commerce. If you have a suppressor and it's all good, does that mean you can just drive across the country? Probably not, because it's illegal in those states unless you're driving only through those places. But this is potentially big news. I don't want to get down in the weeds. This is giant news. This is the biggest thing since the assault weapons ban sunset. When I was a kid growing up, we were under an assault weapons ban. You couldn't get over a 10-round magazine, not legally. Right? This is big news. This is giant news. And hopefully it does stick. What does this mean for you? Well, hopefully it means you can get a lot of these things without the tax stamp, without all the paperwork, without paying the $200, without all the fingerprints. If it's a firearm, obviously, you're still going to have to do the 4473 like you have to do for any firearm. With a suppressor, I don't know. Is the suppressor going to be a 4473 or is it going to be nothing? Because it's not a firearm. I don't know the answer to that. But either way, it should be better. Now, here's what I'm going to tell you. It's your money. You do what you want, right? I'm not your wife. You don't have to justify your purchases, your gun purchases and stuff to me. If you just want to go out and buy a bunch of stuff to stick it to the man, or more healthily, you just want to go celebrate when you turned 21 and you went and bought a handgun, or you turned 18 and went and bought a rifle or whatever, just like, oh, this is great, I'm going to celebrate and go buy an S.B.R. Hey, man, there's way worse things you could do to celebrate. Recommend that over, trying crack cocaine. So if you just want to do that to celebrate, fine. That said, just because something is now legal does not mean that it's useful, right? I have a AR pistol. It's not my go-to fighting AR, right? The military has 14.5 with a thing, so basically a 16-inch or a 14.5 pinned or a 20-inch rifle. That's still going to be your basic, your general go-to. It doesn't mean that it's like it was silly when they were illegal. It doesn't mean that an 11-inch AR is better than a 16-inch AR. In most cases, it's not. Now, there are places where you might want one, and I have one. Use it in the real world on real missions. It's handy sometimes, but it's not my general go-to. Don't have any, and you're like, oh, I'm going to go get one of these. Do you have a go-to fighting AR? And it probably shouldn't be an 11.5 or 10.5 or whatever. Certainly shouldn't be like one of the, really short ARs because they tend to not work as well, 7, 8, 9 inches. So again, just because it's legal doesn't mean that you need one. Doesn't mean that it's a better choice because it was once illegal. Again, it was silly that they were illegal in the first place. It's a general go-to all-purpose shotgun. You probably don't want an SBS. If you have a couple of go-to fighting shotguns and you're like, here's a category I fall into, like, I like a regular old 870 with just a regular size mag tube. But the barrel had to be 18 inches. It seems to me to make a lot more sense if I could just put a barrel that was the same length of the mag tube, whatever length that would be. I'd have to check, like 12 inches. Shotguns, if you reload, they use pistol powder. You don't need that long a barrel to get really good ballistic performance out of shotguns. If I could have basically my same, like a go-to fighting 870, but have it with a barrel that was flush with the mag tube, that'd be great. That doesn't mean that all my fighting shotguns now are going to have to, go through all that. But it'd be nice to have one like that for under the seat of the truck or whatever it might be, right? I have said that suppressors are way overblown and not as useful as people try and make them out to be. That said, there is a case for suppressors. Guess what I did today when I got this news? I went to a gun store and I bought a suppressor. A little 22 suppressor, $200. Now, the gun store wasn't sure what was going on, so I didn't actually take it home, but I paid for it. And I said, if worse comes to worse, I'll just do the paperwork. I don't really care. The tax stamp is still repealed. It's $200. Now, I live in a place where I can just shoot in the front yard. But for a 22, one of the things I use for practicing quite a bit, my wife is in meetings a lot during the day. And it's kind of rude for me to shoot right outside the window. If I have a little suppressed 22, I could be a little bit more convenient. Again, I'm not going to do that with most of my guns. I'm not going to take my, Winchester Model 70s that I have and thread them for a suppressor. If it goes above the speed of sound, it's still going to be loud and it's still not going to be hearing safe anyway. So I'm not saying you need to run out now and buy a suppressor for every gun that you have. I would say I wouldn't even bother with a suppressor until you have your basic battery really squared away. But it is nice that you could get those and get those, again, without the tax stamp, right? I just got a suppressor for less than the tax stamp used to cost. Is it a game changer? No, it's not. Will it be nice to do some practicing during the day when my wife's in a meeting and I don't have to plan around that? Yeah, that'll be nice and convenient. But what I'm saying is, this is tremendous news. It's great. It's a victory for something that always should have been, right? Shall not be infringed means shall not be infringed. But don't think that it means that now all the other guns are obsolete. Again, it was silly for these to be illegal in the first place. They're no better for most things than guns that were completely legal. So remember that. If there's something you've always wanted that's like, it'd be really handy if the shotgun was a little bit shorter, then yeah, by all means. if you have an AR pistol with the brace on it and this goes through and you're like, well, I can just put a regular, Magpul stock on it. Yeah, there's really no downside there. Go ahead and do it. But temper that with not everything that, is now not everything that was an N.F.A. item is a must-have. I would just temper it with that. But tremendous news. Actually recording this when I should be trying to go to sleep because it's such big news. I thought that I would get this out and put it out as a special edition. Hopefully you guys appreciate that. Thanks for listening. And I'll close this out with a tactical verse of the day. Therefore do not worry, saying, what shall we eat? Or what shall we drink? Or what shall we wear? For after all these things the Gentiles seek. For your heavenly Father knows that you need all these things. But seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added to you. Thanks for listening, and have a blessed day.